understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Vice President Harris, thank you. We've heard from both of you on Ukraine tonight. Afghanistan came up in the last hour. I wanted her to respond to something you said earlier, and please, I'll give you a minute here.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please. He would have been sitting in Moscow much happier than he is right now. But eventually, you know, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe he hasn't been that threatening, but he does have that. Something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said it at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fellow. And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader upholding international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strongmen instead of caring about democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is commander-in-chief. And the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
We've talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate. I want to move on to Afghanistan.
Stoltenberg said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen. He's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen. For years, we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you. Otherwise, Trump, we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this, and the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected world leaders. And this former president, as president, invited them to Camp David because he does not, again, appreciate the role and responsibility of the President of the United States to be commander-in-chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations with the Taliban.
So if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, you know, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, it was we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, 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 and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move on.
And these people did the worst withdrawal and, in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words, so I'm asking.
I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
I think it's, I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. You know, I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was land, he owned buildings, and he was investigated because he refused to rent property to black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5, took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first Black president of the United States. And I think the American people want better than that, want better than this, want someone who understands, as I do, I travel our country. We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people? Knowing that regardless of people's color or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay?
President Trump, this is now your third time.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said, going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park Five. They admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad, and she can't get away with that.
Thank you. Your time is up.
I want to respond to that, though. I want to just respond briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country, one who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people. I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I have a plan. Let's talk about our plans and let's compare the plans. I have a plan to give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction, to pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life, to help you in that most critical stage of your child's development. I have a plan that is about allowing people to be able to pursue what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream by offering a help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. That's the kind of conversation, I believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about belittling and name-calling. Let's turn the page
Vice President
and move
Harris,
forward.
thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President
Let's turn
Trump,
back
we
to
have
policy.
to move on. President Trump.
Let's turn to policy,
She has
please.
a plan to defund the police. She has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
President Trump,
she
we
has
do
a
have to
plan
move
to
on to
not
other
allow
issues.
fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay.
Thank you,
That's
Mr.
what her
President.
plan is until just recently.
I just need
Lindsay,
to
go ahead.
respond
President
because
Trump,
the
President
former
Trump,
president has said
no, I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to
No,
respond to.
I'm sorry.
I
We're
just
going
need
to move
respond
on, Vice
one
President
time
Harris.
to what he has
President
said
Trump, this
multiple
is
times.
now your
Yes.
third time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better.
Correct.
Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it and we're going to replace it. But remember this, I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up. They wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, never going to be great, or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that. And you'll be hearing about it in the not too distant future.
Vice President Harris, in 2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private healthcare options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff. As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand, just look at the history to know where people stand. When Donald Trump was president, 60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time when I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate. And the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being, you don't like him, you said at the time, because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night, walked onto the Senate floor and said, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan. And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell the people watching tonight, you remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it.
Vice President Harris,
in terms of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a lot of—
She made a mistake. At number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years. But it wasn't only him. It were all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We can do much better than Obamacare, much less money. But she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get. People are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump, thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump, with regard to the environment, you say that we have to have clean air and clean water. Vice President Harris, you call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight is, what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said the climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up. You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home, having nowhere to go. We know that we can actually deal with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue. And I am proud that as vice president over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
That didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. They're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable, but we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates. An historic night, this ABC News presidential debate from Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
Whatever you expected, whatever any of us expected, this debate is, of course, as high stakes as it gets. We are very grateful to have you here watching with us. I hope you'll stay with us when it's over. Governor Tim Walz is going to join us afterwards right here on MSNBC.
So what are we thinking here? Do I have any Kamala supporters? What's up, True Texan? I don't know. Like, honestly, some of the stuff she's saying, I agree with, and it makes sense. There's just an air of, I don't totally believe her. That's my issue. I just don't totally trust her. But a lot of things she's saying isn't wrong. There really is a lot of stuff she's saying that she's pretty on point. He's selling a dream. She's not. I mean, I guess she is in a way, but he's like catering to all of the stereotypes. That's just not realistic. And it's not, she's not really catering to stereotypes. But she's had 4 years and I don't see anything. Granted, she wasn't the president, but where is everybody? I decided to go live because I was bouncing in other people's chats. Like, my own people aren't even here. I don't even have a mod. Hey, Ruby. Hey, good vibes. She wins, we're all screwed. I don't know, but are we? I'm not loved. I'm hated at the moment. People are like afraid to come in here and shit. Like afraid they're not going to be allowed in other chats. Believe me, I've been told behind the scenes. People talk. And then you have one person that doesn't come in and another person that doesn't come in. And I told like some of the Patreons that were worried about it. I said, you know, honestly, if you guys don't come in there and you guys don't show up, well, we're never going to get a groove back. I need you guys to get a groove back. Trump delivered on more of what he promised her. I agree with that. Biden is an asshole, but Kamala's voice annoys me. But all I'm saying is the thing she's saying, she's not totally wrong. And he is feeding into stereotypes and getting people hyped up on stereotypes. I mean, honestly, let's call a spade a spade. The reality is most presidents do nothing. They all make all these promises and then nothing happens. Because a lot of it you can't even do in 4 years. So that's why I stopped voting a long time ago. Because I just don't have faith in anybody. But I will say Obamacare was very good to me during my cancer. I mean, I switched at the last moment after I was already diagnosed because I wanted private insurance. They cover my whole premium, which is almost $1,000 a month. So I really don't have much complaints, but they don't cover a lot.
Between former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris. It is at the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia. Final segment starts now.
Back tonight, the time has come for closing statements, and Vice President Harris, we begin with you.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward. But we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us. And we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump?
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack. We're not going to take fossil fuel. We're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from here in Philadelphia at the National Constitution Center. I'm Lindsay Davis.
And I'm David Muir. Thank you for watching here in the U.S. and all over the world, and from all of us here at ABC News. Good night.
Lindsay Davis and David Muir wrapping this presidential debate between former President Donald Trump and Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris. You could not have two more different candidates with two more different approaches to the task at hand here. I had a television executive once tell me that everything you need to know about a live event on television, you can tell with the sound off. And if you had the sound off for this debate, which I'm sure nobody did, what you would have seen was Trump looking physically hunched, angry, squinting. I never saw the whites of his eyes the entire debate, shouting, constantly interrupting himself, not just going down tangents, but being unable to finish a thought, seeming very frustrated, very angry, very negative, and very tired. In contrast, Kamala Harris appeared to be sort of light on her feet, quite puzzled by him. The two-shot of him squinting and hunching and seeming to be having physical trouble squeezing the words out, certainly squeezing the sentences out, while she just looked at him absolutely puzzled by where it was he was going. I think that visual may be as much of a takeaway as anything that was said. That said, boy, what was said? Trump repeatedly coming back to the same lines over and over again about world crime rates being low, and that being the explanation.
Okay, one thing I want to jump in and say, though, is, Ruby, don't you go anywhere. One thing I want to say, though, the one thing that I noticed from an outsider is that I believe that Trump was speaking from Trump. I don't believe that he was coached. I don't believe that he was told what to say. Maybe he was given guidelines, but I believe that was Trump off the cuff. Kamala, I believe, was programmed. She was told what to say. She memorized what to say. And to me, that's how it came across. It did not come across like she was speaking from the heart. It didn't come across like she was speaking off the cuff. And I respect when Trump said, hey, no, I don't have a plan yet. I'm not president yet. I thought that was a very real answer. He didn't try to bullshit it with, oh, well, we're going to do this, this, and this. No, he was very real. And I respect that about him, that it was very real. And I'm surprised that the experts are reading it differently. Hey, Lisa, the experts are reading it differently, and they're reading it as, oh, he couldn't speak, he couldn't do this. He could have easily memorized whatever people told him to do in the first place and wouldn't have a problem. But he didn't do that. And I respect that about him. And I have a feeling that's going to go totally missed with the experts. But that's why I wanted to see what the experts had to say.
Told him that military leaders who have worked with him have told her that Donald Trump is a disgrace. As she said to him, that you are a disgrace. She described him as confused and unable to understand that he lost the election. She said he was fired by 81 million people, and he's having a very difficult time processing that. She said he was handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times. She said people leave his rallies early due to exhaustion and boredom. In talking about the Russia-Ukraine war, she said, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv, if you were president, with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch? I've never seen a starker contrast in presentation from 2 candidates in any debate, in any type of contest, in any political race.
I think that's because there hasn't been one. Now, I think that we all know that maximum humility is required of us, particularly in the next 57 days. We do not know the outcome of the election.
Yeah.
But if these matter at all in the outcomes of said elections, it should be over. Because she didn't just prevail in every exchange. She prevailed at the humaning. Questions that were deeply personal, she turned into questions not about herself, not about her campaign, not about the Democratic Party, not even about Donald Trump, but about the country. The whole beginning was, I don't know if he noticed, his synapses did not seem to be firing, but she got out her entire economic agenda, the thing that Chris Christie suggested she do, use this.
This seriously reminds me of YouTube. And the reason I say that is I have said multiple times, people don't want real people. They want some fake ass image spewing fake ass shit to please an audience. They don't want that real person that's going to tell them exactly how the fuck it is. And that's exactly what they're doing. They are listening to Kamala, who's been totally trained by professionals about what to say. Anybody can say a line of bullshit. Show me Kamala off the cuff. Show me without being trained what to say it, how to do this, how to do that. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see the bullshit. I don't want to see the, this is what you're told to say.
Kamala Harris reached out directly to those voters. If she got 10,000 of them to focus on the threat to Poland that Vladimir Putin represents, she may have won the presidential election in that particular response. Let's start at the beginning. When they entered, I was wondering what was going to happen. Would there be a handshake?
Yeah.
We're going to see that video more than once. It's Donald Trump running away from her. It's Donald Trump trying to turn away as the adult in the room approaches and crosses to do what every presidential candidate before her has done in that situation, which is to extend her hand to the other candidate. And Donald Trump runs away from it until he can't. She literally has to corner him.
Okay, I didn't see the beginning, but I don't see him running away at all. What am I missing?
Shake his hand, and she does it. Two things I would point out quickly about it. You heard the person who was president of the United States on January 6th say to the American.
Where the fuck is he running away? By their own words, he did not run away. He walked right up to her and gave her a handshake. What am I missing? They just showed it.
People, I wasn't responsible for security. President of the United States, commander in chief is what this job is about. And he's saying when they're attacking the Capitol and I'm doing nothing for 2 hours and more than 2 hours, I wasn't responsible for security. Another thing you isolated where he said that Democrats and everyone wanted Roe versus Wade overturned. Here's the problem with that lie. That's his worst lie of the night because he was lying.
See, Brian, I disagree with you. I think she did a good job memorizing what she was told to say. She did not speak off the cuff. He did.
Didn't want.
High numbers have dropped, blah, blah, blah. She says, I'm the only person on this stage who's prosecuted transnational gangs, trafficking drugs and human beings. She talks about that bill that was on the table that Donald Trump called Republicans and said, don't vote for because he wanted the issue, but he didn't want to solve the problem. He just wanted the issue for the election. And then she did what I think is the smartest thing of the night. And it is the thing that we got from Hillary Clinton that she was being advised to do. Get him with the one thing that will completely destabilize him for the rest of the debate. And it did. And you named it before. It's when he said, essentially, she said that we need a leader who focuses on solutions. He's going to talk about immigration when it's not even the subject because he kept going back to the millions of people and they're all criminals. And he kept doing it. And she called him on it. And she said, note that he's going to talk about immigration when it's not the question. And I invite you to attend one of his rallies where he talks about Hannibal Lecter. And I want you to know that people at these rallies start leaving early. What you won't hear him talk about is you. That ended Donald Trump's, the cheese being firmly affixed to the cracker.
Yeah.
He literally, after that, could not stop interrupting. He could not stop going back. He could not stop going right back to his special place where he went on about immigration. He argued. He then turned around and interrupted and tried to keep arguing about crowd size. He tried to say we're going to World War III. He said millions of towns, Aurora, Springfield. He said that multiple times. They're eating dogs and cats. It was after that that he went into the dogs and cats. David Weir breaks in and says, no, sir. There is no credible reporting about that. He kept rambling. I think what Vice President Harris managed to do was every single thing that the campaign beforehand said they wanted her to do. She got her policy points out. After this debate, what people will think about when they think about Vice President Harris is $25,000 for building a first home, $50,000 for a new business. They will think about the $6,000 tax credit because she kept saying it.
Yeah.
And what he kept saying was rambling, bizarre nonsense that made him look old. It made him look unstable. It made him look not just unpresidential, but the look that was on Vice President Harris's face. I kept screenshotting her face. The look said pity.
Yeah.
She looked like she pitied him. And she kept looking at him like, are you okay?
Yeah.
And she finally said, I think you're having a hard time connecting with reality. Donald Trump got destroyed in this debate because he can't control his mind. And you don't want a president of the United States that is not in full control of his mind.
It was by far the best debate performance against Donald Trump ever by anyone, I think.
Look,
including
quick parentheses, it may very well be the best televised debate performance ever.
Yeah,
I cannot think of a better one.
I thought it was exceptional. I thought it's the best anyone's ever done against him. Both Republicans in Republican primaries and those.
So I'm curious, when Trump wins, what are they going to all say? That's what I'm curious about. Since they think it was the best, she was so great, she this, she that. Well, when Trump wins, then what? That's what I want to know. Then what are they going to say? Now, does anyone know who I can put on as a flip of this? Of who is Trump happy? Let's see. Who's some Trump supporters, like newscasters that are on? I know it's not mainstream media. That's for sure. I thought Fox is against I thought Fox is against Republican. Am I wrong? Hold on. I had to sign into my TV. Hold on. Thank you, good vibes. I know, I couldn't listen to them either. Hold on. I can't do it on for some reason on Google it has this like ad blocker. Come on. Oh. Oh. Let's see. Oh my God, it's doing it here too. All right, I can't do Fox. Fox won't let me. Who else besides Fox? Oh. Newsmax? I keep getting text messages. Urgent. Whatchamacallit? Kamala destroyed Trump. All right, I'm on Newsmax. I don't see anything live. Oh, Newsmax on YouTube? All right, hold on. All right.
Mr. Trump did anything today to help win Pennsylvania and get you over the line?
Oh, I think he did a couple things really powerfully tonight. One, he reminded Pennsylvanians that though Kamala Harris is running away from her record at every single step, she wants to ban fracking. But Kamala Harris has been explicit about wanting to ban fracking, and she couldn't explain why she allegedly flip-flopped on a view that she held just a few years ago. If you ban fracking like Kamala Harris wants to do, it's going to immiserate and impoverish thousands of Pennsylvania citizens, and it's going to jack up energy prices, by the way, even higher than they've already gone up, because thanks to Kamala Harris's policies, we've got energy prices that are about 40% higher. They're going to go a lot higher if she puts a lot of Pennsylvania frackers out of work.
JD Vance, Donald Trump's running mate, talking about Kamala Harris, at least according to Donald Trump, still believes that Kamala Harris wants to ban fracking, even though she has come back around on that issue. Nevertheless, here we are in Pennsylvania. This is something that a number of voters have told us they are unclear on, and this is a 50-50 race here in Pennsylvania right now, guys. Real Clear Politics last Friday came out 47.6 to 47.6. We are right down the middle at 19 electoral votes. Pennsylvania really is the granddaddy of them all when it comes to this tight swing state race. So we are looking for Josh Shapiro, the governor of this state. I'm sure he has a number of things to say about tonight, and we'll try to get back to you guys when we do. Send it back to you.
All right, Mike Carter, thank you. Josh Shapiro, who was passed over as the vice presidential pick there.
Donald Trump, I think, effectively brought up the man who got the job instead, Tim Walz, and was saying this guy's a radical on a whole lot of issues. He's right about that. We'll see if he landed those punches and what happens in the polls in the next few days. But there's a couple of gentlemen, part of our all-stars who've been waiting out with bated breath to jump in here. Let's get right to him. Host of the polls, David Harris Jr. joins us live, as well as Rick Leventhal, host of the Leventhal Report. Mr. Harris,
welcome in.
I know you've been dying to jump in here. Before the debate, you were excited about this clash of the Titans. David Harris Jr., how do you think it came out?
You know, I think Dick Morris actually summed it up really very well. It was very tactical for Kamala. She came prepared, and they loaded her with so much ammunition, and she actually delivered it very effectively overall. And I think that Dick shared it. I saw it as well. She would pad her little patty cake lies, and then she would change the subject, and then she would point at Trump or talk directly to him. And I think that was a tactic to get him off of the lies that she had already snuck in. So he didn't have the ability to go back and call her out. I also noticed she was taking notes. He doesn't take notes. He's not taking notes during the debate. I know that a lot of people during a debate will take notes so they know exactly what to come back and check off and make sure that they rebut. He didn't do that, and I think that was a mistake, because there were so many lies that she caked in there, and she would make 3, 4, 5 points sometimes in each section of her argument, and then before she'd end it, she would turn to Trump. She kept talking at him. She was like trying to badger him. I think that's why he was not looking at her. I think it was probably a good idea that he didn't look at her, because she was trying to get under his skin and get him to emotionally react and respond to what she was saying. And then he missed several opportunities, I think, to hold her feet to the.
It's so wild, though, to hear both sides. And that's exactly what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear both sides. Like, okay, we heard what Kamala supporters think. Well-respected people, intelligent people. Okay, we heard what they said. Now I wanted to hear the intelligent people for Trump's side. And it's amazing. They both make sense.
Fire on several lies, blatant lies, things that the liberal left-leaning fact checkers have actually called her out on. Right. But overall, President Trump still delivered the truth. He delivered the facts. He shared and spoke what most Americans are concerned about. They're concerned about the border. They're concerned about inflation. We have his record of 4 years with her 3.5-year record underneath Joe Biden to look at, and we can tell our country is worse off, far worse off than it was underneath President Trump. It was a completely different story. So I think overall, President Trump definitely pulled it out. But I just hope the American people that were watching, that were on the fence, go do their own research to make sure that what she was saying is the truth, and they'll find out that it's not the truth and that she's lying. And if she's lying about that, then what else is she lying about, and can she be trusted? And that answer would be no.
She relied also, David, on a lot of generalities. I have a plan. I want this opportunity economy. Well, Trump had opportunity zones. I will be the president for everybody, something he said. She tried to disparage him. I thought it was really disingenuous, Rick, when she talked about Afghanistan, when we saw how they treated the Gold Star families. Today's Speaker Johnson was able to actually give a medal to the families. There was nothing but statements on the day of the anniversary. And she's out there saying that his plan failed, which she was the last woman in the room. A lot of things that I think she was trying to purport herself as some type of, world military expert here. And Donald Trump really was, maybe a little bit soft touch as well on some of those things he could have pushed back on.
Well, if you're asking me, I'm just really disappointed in the unlevel playing field. I'm disappointed in the fact that, as John McLaughlin said, that Trump was put on defense all night, that Kamala Harris was never really challenged to back up statements or answer questions like, as you mentioned, Ed, the very first question.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I was saying. Like, he has to defend and she doesn't have to.
Are Americans better off today than 4 years ago? It's a simple answer, and obviously we're not because of inflation, but they let her dodge that question and a bunch of others, and they shaped the questions to her advantage. They talked about things that would make her look better, like the abortion situation or the January 6th issue. And did they follow that up with, well, you were supporting giving money to the demonstrators and the protesters who were arrested, who were burning buildings. And Trump brought it up, but the moderators didn't force Harris to answer his concerns. And that really bothered me, along with her condescending laughter and smiles at Trump as he was speaking. She also tried to interrupt him several times, which I don't think he did.
Honestly, all I needed to hear, hey, Pearl, all I needed to hear was that her advisor was Hillary Clinton. That's all I needed to know. That sums everything up so easily that, now I get it. Now I understand why she sounded so polished. I understand why she was spewing shit out of her mind. Clinton has a debt against Trump, and she's living it through Kamala. Sit the fuck down.
But the thing that bothers me the most, and I wish Donald Trump had forced her to talk to this, is that she was never pressured to answer the question about the victims of crimes committed by illegal immigrants against American women. American people for sure, but also women and children, rapes and murders. And we had mothers on Capitol Hill today testifying about it.
Yeah.
And they didn't bother to ask her to defend her policies or lack of policies that have allowed millions of people in, and many of them are criminals, as Trump kept hammering at. But again, they didn't force her to answer that question. And I think that is where she's most vulnerable.
It's astonishing. And we're reporting on one every single day. And you're right. These are little kids in parks. These are 12-year-olds like Jocelyn Nungare. I mean, these are things the moderators should have picked up on. These are innocent victims' crimes. And a lot of the people, not only are they illegal, they've been deported and they come back again. I mean, what would you have that story in New York where 75% of people being arrested are illegal immigrants? Why not bring that up and say, listen, that's a big city. A lot of elites live in New York City. They didn't even care to bring that up. And that's in their backyard there.
Yeah. And to Rick's point, I think what would have been affected is the former president saying, what do you say to Laken Riley's mother? What do you say to the family, Rachel Moore? And I think I caught what you were saying there. I want to add something else. And if our team can tee up Z20, this clip of Kamala Harris trying to bait the former president about the Trump rallies. Let's play that and we'll let David go first. Let's listen.
I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first. And I pledge to you that I will.
I'm going to be fair to all sides. And I'll say the body language of Kamala Harris, who was showing a minute ago, where she kept putting her hand under her chin.
What was
seemed
that?
Pretty ridiculous. I want everyone to comment. I won't shade it. But when Donald Trump, he seemed, David, and I heard in your first answer before, David, that you might be a little frustrated like I am, that Donald Trump took the bait a bit. There's the hand on the chin. You can certainly comment on that. But on the rally, you saw him roll his eyes and get sort of angry about Hannibal Lecter and windmills causing cancer, instead of just saying, look, great patriots come together. And I talk about them and not me all the time. I talk about lifting them up, David. I talk about the American dream. I think he missed an opportunity and he kind of took the bait. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I think he definitely took the bait, unfortunately, a little bit more than I wished he would have. She definitely kept going in on him. She wanted him to defend himself. She wanted America to see him try to defend himself and talk about himself and defend why there's 50, 80, 100,000 people plus at his rallies. And so she did knock him off a little bit. I think the condescending tone, it's kind of like a narcissistic, manipulative teacher. You know, we've had those teachers that just don't care. They're never in a good mood. They're not happy, but they'll smile to your face while they're lying to you to then try to get you to do what they want you to do, or try to get you to, to seem a way that they can just put you in your corner. That's nonstop the whole night. That was Kamala. I was sitting there saying, I hope Americans are looking at this woman saying, is that who I want to be the commander in chief of my country? Because that would just be a flat out no. There's no temperament. There's no proper temperament, no proper etiquette. She's not diplomatic. And she was just nonstop. And the lies, the nonstop lies, guys, it was that right there for me. I think it was just a lot of people are saying the exact same thing all over social media. It's like, it was horrible.
ABC doesn't air his rallies, but the day he was shot in Butler, no one even left. We all commented how there was a shooting and people were literally standing behind him on the stage. It wasn't chaos. And she talks about, fictional character. Her whole campaign's on fiction.
Rick, we've got another guest who we want to bring in. Give us 30 seconds on that to close it.
Well, real quick, I mean, that was clearly in her back pocket. The rally dig was one of those that she was ready for. She's good at memorizing stuff. She was good at coming up with nonsense blanket statements about things, and also very good as a prosecutor at redirecting. She was not answering questions, but turning things around and going to stuff that she wanted to talk about. And this is where the moderators are supposed to come in and force her to address and answer the issue. And she would not do that. They wouldn't do it. Trump was left trying to do it. She was, I guarantee you, practicing her mocking laughter, her mocking smiles toward Trump, practicing that for the last 4 days when she was holed up.
Yeah, I heard it on what's his name's channel, Burgundy Blue. But it was something, don't quote me exactly, but it was something along the lines of, oh, I heard someone was bitching the other night about people, and well, that's what happens. Something like that's what happens with the CPS call. It's like a murderer or a rapist. What? Like, how do you even compare the two? They're not even on the same fucking universe. But okay, whatever way you got to be a victim. Like, wow. So yeah, I was compared to a murderer or a rapist.
In the hotel room.
Rick, you're right. Make sure you check out Rick, 7 p.m. Eastern on N2. David Harris Jr., 8 p.m. Eastern on N2. Thank you, gentlemen. Let's keep it moving.
Thanks, guys. Yeah.
And welcome in live now, Oklahoma Senator Mark Wayne Mullen. He joins us live from the site there in the spin room. Senator, what did you see tonight? What are your takeaways, sir?
Well, what you saw was with two separate candidates. You saw one that is a true politician with Kamala that's going to do and say whatever the American feels, meaning that she ran a retail show tonight. Then you saw President Trump, who wants to dig in and fix America and talk about policies. And then you saw that he had to debate not one, but three. I mean, you saw Lindsay fact checking one time about saying that she's for full term abortion, and then she came back and said that there wasn't a state around that actually allows that to happen. Well, that's an absolute lie, because Tim Walz's, while he was governor, his own state of Minnesota, he vetoed a bill that would require the doctors to keep a botched abortion baby alive, and said, no, you have to go ahead and kill it. This debate was very one-sided, and I mean, when I say one-sided, very one-sided, directed by the moderators. And I hate to give CNN any credit here, but at least CNN was somewhat balanced. ABC was not even hiding their bias towards President Trump.
News right now, Senator. We have just in now, Harris' campaign wants an October presidential debate, according to a spokesperson. This is coming from Reuters. So maybe we'll get a second chance here.
They seem to think they put Donald Trump on defense and they want a second bite of this apple.
Yeah.
What would be your recommendation to the former president? He's sort of had a small lead going into this debate.
Yep.
She thinks she put him on his heels. Should he go in again or just walk away?
No. You know, I don't. President Trump's a great debater, and he's going to do what is best. But there's zero chance we should do it with a left-leaning media. If we're going to do it, let's do it with Newsmax. Let's do it with Fox. Let's do it with someone that leads maybe our way, or someone at least wants to be fair and balanced. That's not what you're getting with ABC. And like I said, CNN did a decent job. I don't think they can do it twice. And I would love to see someone actually push Kamala Harris on actually policies. Don't let her get away with just talking the way the American people feel or the way she feels, but actually talk about why she's failed as vice president, as being czar of the border, why she's so proud of the disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal, why she thinks the economy is better today than it was underneath President Trump. Why is it that the average American family right now is spending $1,085 a month, which is over $13,000 a year underneath this administration, more just to survive with groceries and energy costs than they did underneath President Trump? Why don't we actually have those substance conversations that's actually important to the American people, not continue to dig at President Trump and what he did or didn't do as president?
We should be talking about those things. And you're right. If it was a different forum and different moderators, we would be talking about those things, the things that Americans care about.
Right.
But they want to look backwards to January 6th, and then they want to say Donald Trump's the one looking backwards here, when they have directed that narrative the entire time. And it was infuriating to watch that.
Absolutely.
And hearing that missed opportunity to have an actual tangible debate about the policies that she has burdened Americans with.
Well, even way they asked the question about January 6th, when they
See, my biggest issue, honestly, is I can't stand that everybody says we're going to do this, this, and this, but they never say how they're going to do this, this, and this. I could sit up there and say that I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. That doesn't mean that I'm going to do it. People want to hear how I'm going to do it. Not that I'm going to do it, but how am I going to do it?
they edited his own words by saying, "We'll march to the Capitol," when he obviously said, and it's been very well documented, and everybody that's actually played the clip knows that he said, "We're going to march to the Capitol in a very peaceful, very peaceful way." And yet they totally left that out. They didn't even call her out on the whole plan of 2025 when President Trump has openly said multiple times he's against it. They didn't one time. She said it not once, not twice, but 3 different times, and they never once corrected her on that. And they just want to continue to rehash old issues that they themselves are actually telling a lie about. By telling a lie, when you're telling a half truth, that's a whole lie.
Yeah, there you go. Well said. Senator Mark Wayne Mullen from the great state of Oklahoma. We appreciate you joining us on N2. Hope you come back soon, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Senator.
We're going to hit a quick break, but our live coverage is only just beginning. Don't go anywhere. We'll bring in a lot more of the best team on television breaking down.
Can I just say her hair is amazing? And I think it's all real. I don't think it's extensions or anything. It is amazing. Just saying. I'm trying to speak in between Buka barking. Hey, hey, you be good. You be good. No, the moderators were horrible. Honestly, they were fucking horrible. That was like some of the worst moderators that I've ever seen. They were like, I agree with them that it was set up for her to look good and for him to not look good and for him to be on a defense. That I do see. And I'm not into politics. I mean, I know the basics, but I'm not like heavily into politics. And even I could see what was going on. So if general public like me can see it, so could everyone else. I mean, he definitely does want to be like a dictator. I don't disagree there. But if it gets prices down, then so be it. Because I'll give you an example, and this happened today, so it's like fresh in my mind. So Sage wanted Thanksgiving dinner tomorrow. She wanted me to cook, home cooked meal. She wanted the full kit and caboodle. So I went out and I bought all the stuff. Now I buy this stuffing that not croutons, but it's like in a bag. You know what I'm talking about? It's like not like stovetop or anything. It's like literally in a bag with spices. It used to be a 1 pound bag for like $2.58 or like $3. Well, today when I went, it's now an 8-ounce bag for almost $4. And that was in Kroger's. Kroger's is cheaper than Publix. I was like, wow, this bag shrunk. So now you have to get 2 bags for what you used to get for 1 bag. So now it's 8 ounces. So now you need 2 of them. So now it's almost $7 for stuffing. I was like, oh my God. And then you have to buy bread to add to it. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, that's crazy. I just couldn't believe how they shrunk the bags. They did that with juice drinks too. And I noticed that like things are getting smaller and the price is going up. Why? I don't understand why everything is so fucking expensive. Thank God it's just me in Dayton. Because I'm telling you, I would not be able to afford having 3 kids. I don't know how people are doing it. I really don't. I have no idea. I was struggling over the summer with Phoenix being gluten-free. Me and Dayton, I could survive. But I just couldn't believe it. If I had to go shopping every single week for 3 kids, I don't think I could do it. There's just no way. So it's crazy. And yet restaurants are popping up all over the place. My mom's like, the economy's good. I'm like, it is? Where is the economy good? No, I haven't, Suzanne. But that is what I noticed, that everything seems to be getting smaller and more money. It's fucking crazy. I don't know how we're going to keep it up. Even dog food. I started them on, for affordability, I started them on Optimum Prime, I think, for like large dog. And I got a 47-pound bag for $59. So I go back the next week, or a couple of weeks later, and I noticed it was 35-pound bag for the same price. So I'm like, I could swear the bag that I bought was bigger for the same price. So now they're special ordering me the 47-pound for $59 because I'm like, this is wrong. Like, I'm not paying $35 for 35 pounds, $60 for 35 pounds when I just bought a 47-pound bag for the same money. So they ended up giving it to me. Thank God. Oh, I know. No, I was talking about Emma. I agree with you, Heather. I just couldn't believe she said that. I was like, wow, really? Now I'm compared to a rapist or a murderer? Okay. See, but the kids of today, they don't get it either. Like Dayton, this is Dayton's prices. Like he gets it. This is what he's always known. This is what he's used to. So he's like, hey, it is what it is. I'm like, well, if you grew up when I did and you saw how expensive things were now, you would have a little different story. So I want you guys to know what's going on with my other channels, by the way. Since this channel's kind of dead and everyone's afraid to be here, we're going to start up the other channel, but I'm also changing the one that got demonetized. I'm changing that back to a 90-Day Fiance because the new season is out of control. These people are crazy. So that's going to be on my Light Perplex channel. I haven't figured out what I'm naming it yet, but I'll let you guys know when I do. But yeah, the new season of 90 Day just started and it's crazy. Why is this channel dead? Because I had some ex-mods who got really mad and jealous over who knows what. I did nothing to them and they outed a secret that I called CPS on somebody 3 years ago. And all hell hit the fan. So then I became the worst person in the world, blah, blah, blah. And now, you know, nobody wants to be seen in here. But my attitude is I'm so fucking over it. Like, whatever. I don't give a fuck. So many people on this platform have done hella worse and more of it, and they get welcomed with open arms. So I say fuck you to everybody. Everyone that can't seem to see past it because I'm so horrible. Sit and spin. That's where I'm at. So I decided that I am probably lay low on this channel for a while. Probably do shorts on it. I mean, I'm not going to let it go. Right now, it's my only monetized channel. But I really got into this 90 Day for the new season. I was like, I keep saying I'm going to go back to it, and I haven't. Because I did really well when I was growing really fast. So I decided I'm going to change back to it. But that will be uploads. That's not going to be live. Yes, I am. That's going to be my true crime. This story, let me just tell you guys, the story that I was going to do first on that channel had to do with Disney. And then I just got caught up. So I'll tell you guys what the story was. So there was this doctor who, let me turn this off. Hold on. Because it's actually a really fucking crazy story. So there's this doctor who was going to Disney. She had this really, really bad allergy. I don't know if you guys heard this already, but she had this really bad allergy to peanuts. And her and her husband went to Disney. Now, mind you, this is a doctor. They go to Disney. They're in a restaurant. She tells them, look, I have really, really bad allergies. And please make sure that there's no cross-contamination. There's nothing wrong. So they said, okay. And the waiter's like, don't worry, we got you, blah, blah, blah. She's like, no, really, it's deadly for me. Like, you can't say it and like it cannot be true. So he said, no, we got you. Don't worry. Okay. So she eats the food. About 15 minutes after she leaves, she dies. They called the paramedics. Paramedics couldn't save her. The allergy, it was too much. and she ended up dead. So the husband is suing Disney, what rightfully so. Disney has a clause in their contract, which most people don't know, that if you were ever, and I say ever, if you were ever a subscriber to Disney Plus on the internet, even if it was a gifted, a 1 month free, doesn't matter. If you were ever a member of Disney Plus TV, you cannot sue Disney. That is a clause in their contract. And I know that sounds crazy, but it has to go through arbitration. And I thought it was the weirdest fucking case I ever heard in my entire life. This woman dies at a restaurant because a waiter lied to her and didn't take her allergy serious. A very well-respected doctor, no less, not some Joe Schmo on the street. Not that that matters, but a very well-respected doctor dies at Disney, and the husband can't sue because he's a Disney Plus member? And this is legit. This is all factual. And I could not believe it. I was like so blown away by it. I was like, this can't be real life. This just can't be. There's no way. But I started researching and yeah, it's a legit thing right now that this doctor's husband cannot sue. Let me see if I can find it. I don't know what the follow-up is, but he was like in awe. Like, what do you mean I can't sue? Because I was a Disney Plus member for like a month. Yeah. And I didn't even see anybody talking about it on YouTube. And I was surprised. I'm like, this is big. Like, how come? So I thought it would be a perfect story for my first one and done. And then it got, I don't know. I just couldn't do it. His husband. Okay. Yeah, it was 3 weeks ago. All right. So here's a little news report with it. But it's crazy.
And conditions many of us agree to without even reading them. Disney is trying to use them to fend off a wrongful death lawsuit. A man in New York is suing the company after his wife suffered a deadly allergic reaction at a restaurant at Disney World. But Disney, for its part, is saying he cannot sue because he agreed to arbitrate any disputes with the company when he signed up for a free trial of Disney Plus in 2019. Joining me now is Amy Feldman. She's a lawyer and author. Amy, it's good to see you again. So first off, anyone listening to this might say, what on earth does Disney Plus have to do with this? A restaurant that was at Disney World. And what does it mean exactly to arbitrate a dispute?
Yeah, so that's a very good question, Ziegler. First of all, most people don't know what binding arbitration is or what the problem is when they sign up for those terms and conditions, which, as you said, most people don't even read. Binding arbitration means that if you have a dispute with the other party, you don't get a trial by jury. You don't get to speak before your peers about why they owe you money. Instead, you have to go with a neutral arbitrator, and it's binding. So if you don't like what the arbitrator has to say, you don't have the opportunity to appeal it.
Now, let me just state, even if that is true, even if I read the fine print when signing up for something, I still wouldn't have thought that it goes from, my online contract to eating at a Disney restaurant and dying because they are fucked up. You know what I mean? Yeah, he took a free trial in 2019. That is insane. That's what I'm saying. Even if I read it, I still wouldn't be like, yeah, that makes sense. That goes to a restaurant. So honestly, this was going to be the first story on One and Done. I just never got a chance to finish it. But now I'm telling you guys, because I figured it would blow up all over the place, and I'm surprised that it hasn't. It's crazy.
And Amy, we should note that the plaintiff's lawyers say that Disney's claim is, quote, so outrageously unreasonable and unfair as to shock the judicial conscience. Meanwhile, Disney issued a statement saying, quote, we are deeply saddened by the family's loss and understand their grief, given that this restaurant is neither owned nor operated by Disney. We are merely defending ourselves against the plaintiff's attorney's attempt to include us in their lawsuit against the restaurant. It's a lot of back.
Now, remember, this happened on Disney property. So if something happens on Disney property, then that's Disney's responsibility. They're trying to say they don't own the restaurant. Bitch, it's on your property. Like, hello?
And forth. But Amy, all of us interact with products from big corporations every single day if we're on our phone, our computer. So if Disney's argument does hold up here, what does it mean for the average consumer?
It means they should be terrified, is what it means, right? Because a reasonable person would not think, because I've signed up for a trial subscription to Disney Plus, that I don't have the right to sue for an injury that happens on a Disney property. Think of all of the various multinational corporations that have tons of affiliates. Do you ever think when you sign up for a website for one product, which you haven't read the terms or conditions, that you lose the right to sue any other product that company has anything to do with in perpetuity? It's terrifying.
Yeah.
And it is, the lawyer is correct that it's a very surprising and quite frankly unconscionable view to say you never
Amy,
get the right to sue.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
to that end, I want to make sure we hit this. If these terms and conditions are viewed as binding contracts, right, the things that we sign or check every day, can regular people actually try to negotiate and get them changed?
You know, there have been a lot of arguments, sometimes against credit card companies, sometimes against other companies where they said, but I didn't read it, but I didn't understand, but I didn't know. And for the most part, these binding arbitration clauses have been upheld only in cases where within those terms of use, the company has not made it clear. There was a case where the company didn't make it clear or didn't clearly explain what is binding arbitration and what are you giving up that the company lost. But you do need to be very mindful of what else this is going to prevent you from doing. If you see something that says, and its affiliates, you have binding arbitration against this company and its affiliates, figure out who that is and then decide whether you really want to go on this website or if you're concerned about the rights you will lose.
Really good point to end on. Amy Feldman, always appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Can you imagine? Like, but even if you read the fine print, I still wouldn't attribute it to dying in a restaurant on Disney property. That's like, okay, I have Disney Plus, I fall at Disney or I die on a ride and my family can't sue them when it's totally their fault. This is not even like some woman just died in their restaurant and the husband is suing because it was Disney. No, this was a reputable, respected doctor that died because of a waiter who I would sue the waiter. I would sue the chef. If I can't sue Disney, well, I'm going to sue everyone involved then. I mean, this woman literally died because a waiter did not take her allergy seriously enough. That's insane. That's like a total death that's completely unfair to anybody, especially when she warned the guy over and over and over about how serious her allergy was. So yeah, now you guys know what my first story was going to be. But I expected it to like blow up and it didn't for some reason. I don't know why. She was a New York doctor. And here's another thing. He's not even asking a lot. He's not asking for like millions. He asked for like $50,000. I don't think it's really about the money per se. He was asking for 50 grand and that's all that he asked for. Let me see. Hold on. Yeah, they went on to say the notion that the terms agreed to by a consumer when creating a Disney Plus free trial account would forever bar that consumer's right to a jury in any dispute is so outrageously unreasonable and unfair. Okay. She was a physician at NYU. Okay, Piccolo accused a Florida resort and a restaurant of negligence in his wife's death. He said in his complaint that they told the server at Raglan Road at Tankswan, who was a physician with NYU Langhorne Health, had severe allergies. The server told the family the food would be made allergy-free, according to the complaint. The family ordered their meals and asked again about the food when the dishes came out without allergen-free flags. And that I can say, I know that with Phoenix, when we go to a restaurant and we tell them, he's gluten-free, it can't be cross-contaminated, they will put, like gluten-free on it if it's like a burger or whatever. So they're saying when it came out, it didn't have those allergen-free flags, but they were assured again by the server that they were gluten-free. I mean, that they were allergen-free. Not long after eating, Taxwan began having trouble breathing. She went into a nearby restaurant and collapsed. The complaint says she was having a severe acute allergic reaction to the food served. She had her EpiPen to help stop her allergic reaction while a bystander called 911. Her husband, who had gone back to their hotel room, was unaware what was happening. When Piccolo called his wife's cell phone, a bystander answered and told him that she had been taken to the hospital. When he arrived, he was told that she had died. So he wasn't even able to be there by her side. Medical examiners' autopsy report cited in the complaint that she died from exfoliacs and had elevated levels of nut and dairy in her system. Her death was ruled an accident. The suit, which names a restaurant in Disney Parks and Resorts as defendant, seeks $50,000 in damages. That's all this guy wanted was 50 grand. I'm sure they have money. I am sure that she had a good life insurance policy, but the fact that he's only asking for $50,000, that's all this man wants. Why, I don't know. And Disney is fighting him. Just pay the man the 50 grand and shut the fuck up. Like, this didn't even have to go here. Disney should have just given the guy $50,000 before it ever hit the news. I mean, that's all the guy wants is 50 grand. If that was me, I would personally now raise it up to like 5 million. I mean, why he thinks his wife's death is only worth 50 grand, I don't know. But yeah, that's all he asked for was 50 grand. I just thought it was such a wild story. And I just couldn't believe that that's what Disney is doing. So lawyers for the company said that users have to select checkboxes that hyperlink to the terms of use, as well as another that says they agreed to the terms. Users cannot select agree and continued if the boxes are not checked. It's horrible publicity, and that's why I'm shocked that so many people did not talk about it. Piccolo said in his complaint that he, his wife, and his mom went to dinner at the Irish pub and restaurant at the resort in Orlando on October 5th. They asked several times whether Tajin's allergies can be accommodated, according to the complaint, despite the server having assured them she had a severe allergic reaction, died at a local hospital. Fucking crazy, right? I know. And she, like I said, she was a well-respected doctor at one of the best hospitals in the city. Yeah. Totally pointless death. Oh, and here's her parents speaking.
Canuckporn Tangswan, who went by Amy, are still grieving the loss of their only daughter. She died in October of last year after dining at a Disney Springs restaurant. How would you describe your daughter? What do you want to say about her?
She very good daughter. Very grateful.
Okay.
Yeah.
She very beautiful.
We proud of her.
Yeah.
Okay.
She worked at NYU right here.
Tang Swan, 42 years old, had a severe nut and dairy allergy. According to a lawsuit filed by her husband, Jeffrey Piccolo, they asked the waiter several times if the food was allergen-free.
They said the waiter over there, they confirmed that. No dairy, no nut.
In the lawsuit against Great Irish Pubs Florida and Walt Disney Parks and Resorts, the plaintiff alleges the waiter guaranteed the food being delivered was allergen-free. About 45 minutes later, Tang Swan began having severe difficulty breathing and collapsed to the floor. The medical examiner saying the cause of death was a result of anaphylaxis due to elevated levels of dairy and nut in her system. Tang Swan did self-administer an EpiPen, but it did not save her.
The EpiPen is great, but it really just saves your life and buys you time to get to an emergency department. It's not intended to be the only treatment for the allergic reaction.
Tang Swan was a doctor at NYU Langone, beloved by her patients. NYU saying in a statement, "We are saddened by her passing and our deepest condolences are with her family." We reached out to Disney for a statement, but have not heard back.
I think they have to take responsibility for whatever. Because Jeffrey told me he makes sure no dairy in there, but they say no dairy.
Isn't that horrible? So that was the story I've been hiding from you guys. But yeah, if you have Disney Plus, oh, hold on. If you have Disney Plus, or if you've ever had Disney Plus, just know, even if you die at Disney, you can't sue them. Insane. Absolutely insane. So, all right, I'm going to get off though. I got to go finish mashing these potatoes before it gets too late. And then I'm done. Everything is cooked for tomorrow. I made everything tonight. And my darling princess gets her Thanksgiving dinner early. Why she wanted it early, I don't know. She said she was craving it. So I have enough food for an army. Thank God Dayton eats a lot. But I'm probably going to go live sometime during the day tomorrow to talk about my plans. And I got to upload the first 90 Day Fiance video. And that's it. So, I mean, I'm still going to be around on this channel. I just think I'm going to lay low because, I don't know, let me build up my other channels. But who knows? I still got to erase so many videos on the other channel. Like, there's like 800 videos I still got to remove. But I don't know if you guys watch 90 Day Fiance, but oh my God, the new season is insane. These people are crazy. You got this one girl, Tiger Lily, who's like richer than rich. And she's like marrying like this 22-year-old virgin. She's like 40 something. It's fucking, these people are crazy. Absolutely crazy. But it makes for good television. So, all right, beautiful people. Thank you guys for being here. I will see you guys tomorrow. Like I said, I haven't done a day live in a while, so I'm probably going to do a day live when I get up. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a wonderful night. Thank you guys for a super chat. And that's it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Oh, the new one, Good Vibes. Wait till you see it. Some of these people, like, it just never fails. The before the 90 days and the last one, which was, I forgot the name of it. They just never seem to fail with the characters that they get. The characters that they get are just whack jobs. Like, I don't watch all of the series. Like, I don't watch The Other Way or some of these other ones. They just don't do it for me. But before the 90 days and this one that just ended, they just get the wackiest fucking people. And it's just funny. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like yelling at the TV. I'm like, what is wrong with these people? So, all right. I will see you guys later. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Ah, there was a movie I saw. Now I forgot what it was. I don't know. My brain is fried. All right. I'll see you beautiful people tomorrow. Have a wonderful night. Peace.